My beloved soul, something is happening right now that you were not meant to ignore. This is not just another message you casually listen to and move on from. No, this is different. This is one of those rare, sacred interruptions that only comes when heaven is trying to reach you before it is too late to respond in this moment. Before this day ends, there is one thing, just one, that you must pray about. And if you felt even the slightest pull to listen to this, it is not by accident. There has been a quiet stirring around you all day. Maybe you felt it in moments of silence, a strange heaviness you couldn't explain, or a thought that kept returning no matter how much you tried to push it away. That was not random. That was not your imagination. That was a signal. And now, you are here, hearing this, because time is aligning for something important. Listen carefully. This is not about fear, but it is about urgency. There are certain moments in life when a delay does more than just postpone things, it shifts outcomes. And today holds one of those moments. Something in your life has reached a point where it cannot remain unspoken before God any longer. It cannot be buried under distractions or delayed until tomorrow. Because tomorrow is not where the breakthrough is waiting, it is connected to what you choose to do before this day closes. You may not fully understand it yet, and that's okay. You don't need all the answers right now. What matters is that your spirit already knows. Deep inside, there is something calling for release, for clarity, for surrender. And whether you've acknowledged it or not, it has been sitting quietly within you, waiting for this exact moment to rise to the surface. Feel this closely, because this is where it becomes real. Archangel Michael is near in this moment, not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that protects and gently guides. There is a divine covering around you right now, creating a space where truth can finally come forward without fear. You are not being watched with judgment, you are being guided with purpose. And here is the truth that may surprise you. This one prayer is not small. It is not ordinary. It carries weight. It carries the potential to unlock something that has been waiting, something that has been paused, something that has been held back, until you speak honestly and openly before God about it. So don't brush this aside. Don't tell yourself you'll come back to it later. Because moments like this don't repeat themselves in the same way. They come with a specific timing, a specific grace, and a specific invitation. And right now you are standing in it. Stay with this. Because what you're about to realize may change everything you thought you understood about today. Something unfolded today that your eyes may not have fully seen, but your spirit felt it. From the moment you woke up, there was a subtle shift in the atmosphere around you. It may have looked like an ordinary day on the surface, conversations, routines, responsibilities, but beneath it all, there was movement in the unseen. A quiet battle was taking place, one that did not need your awareness to begin, but now requires your attention to be completed. There are moments when spiritual tension builds without announcement. It doesn't come with loud warnings or dramatic signs. Instead, it hides itself in small disruptions, unusual emotions, or an unshakable sense that something isn't quite settled. Think back to your day. Was there a moment when you felt unusually drained for no clear reason? A conversation that lingered in your mind longer than it should have? A decision you avoided, even though you knew it mattered? These are not coincidences. These are echoes of something deeper calling for resolution. What you must understand is this: every day carries its own spiritual weight, but not every day carries a divine assignment like this one. Today was marked, not in a way meant to scare you, but in a way that reveals importance. There was something placed before you, something that required your attention, your discernment, and ultimately, your prayer. And even if you tried to move past it, Even if you distracted yourself or told yourself it could wait, it has followed you here into this very moment. The reason it has not left you is because it cannot be completed without your voice. Heaven does many things on your behalf, but there are certain doors that only open when you choose to speak, to surrender, to bring something honestly before God. And today, one of those doors has been standing in front of you, waiting, not forcing itself open, not demanding your reaction, but patiently remaining, knowing that your response is the key. This is where many people miss their moment. They feel the tension, they sense that something needs attention, but they dismiss it. They tell themselves they'll pray later, think later, deal with it another time. But what they don't realize is that delay doesn't just pause the moment, it can quietly close the window that was meant for breakthrough. Not forever, but long enough to make the journey harder than it needed to be. And yet, you are still here, which means the window has not closed. The opportunity has not passed. The invitation is still open, and that is not something to take lightly. There is grace in this moment, grace that has followed you through the entire day, waiting for you to recognize that something important must be addressed before this day ends. Archangel Michael's presence is not distant right now. He is near, steady, and watchful, not to interfere but to strengthen. There is protection around you as you begin to face what needs to be brought into prayer. You are not stepping into this alone. You are being guided into a moment of alignment, where what has been unsettled can finally be placed into the hands of God. So pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, what has been quietly pulling at your attention today? What have you been trying to ignore, postpone, or suppress? Because that is where this hidden battle has been centered, and that is exactly where your prayer must begin. Do not underestimate this moment, because what feels small right now holds more weight than you realize, and what you choose to do next will determine what follows. There was a moment today, maybe more than one, when something tried to reach you, and it almost slipped past unnoticed. It did not come loudly. It did not demand your full attention. Instead, you arrived quietly, like a whisper passing through your thoughts, gentle but persistent. And if you are honest with yourself, you felt it. You may not have understood it, but you felt it. It could have been a sudden pause in your day when everything seemed to slow down for just a second, or a feeling that came over you without explanation, a wave of reflection that made you stop and think about something you had been avoiding. Maybe it came through a memory, a name, a situation that resurfaced unexpectedly. These are not random interruptions. These are signals. And the reason they felt so subtle is because they were not meant to overwhelm you. They were meant to invite you. The problem is, life moves fast. And when something doesn't shout for your attention, it is easy to brush it aside. You may have told yourself it was nothing. You may have distracted yourself, move on to the next task, or filled the silence with noise. But the signal did not disappear. It stayed with you, quietly waiting, because it carried something important that could not be ignored forever. What makes this moment different is that the signal has followed you here. Out of all the things you could be doing, you are here, listening to this, because something inside you recognized that there was more to that feeling than you initially thought. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. It is a continuation of the same message that tried to reach you earlier, now becoming clearer, stronger, and impossible to ignore. There is a reason why this particular thought, this particular feeling, keeps returning. It is not just a passing emotion. It is connected to something unresolved, something that requires your attention before this day ends. And whether it is something you need to release, something you need to confront, or something you need to surrender, It has reached the point where silence is no longer the answer. Archangel Michael is present in this moment as a guide, helping you recognize what your mind tried to overlook. There is a gentle clarity being offered to you right now, one that cuts through confusion and brings truth to the surface. You may begin to notice it now, the exact thing that has been circling your thoughts, the one issue that refuses to fade into the background. That is not there to trouble you. It is there to be acknowledged. And here is where it becomes deeply personal. This is not about what someone else expects from you. This is not about what looks right on the outside. This is about what your spirit knows needs to be brought before God. There is something within you that has been waiting for permission to be spoken honestly, without fear, without hesitation. And this moment is that permission. You are not being asked to have the perfect words. You are not being asked to understand everything fully. You are simply being asked to respond. To take that one thing, the thing that has quietly followed you all day, and bring it into prayer before this day ends. Because in doing so, you are not just speaking, you are unlocking something that has been waiting on your willingness. Do not ignore this again. Do not let it fade into the background one more time. Because this signal was never meant to stay silent. It was meant to lead you here to this exact realization. Type "I receive the signal" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 739 has just been activated. And as this truth settles into your heart, recognize this: when you respond to a divine signal, you are not just changing your own path, you are opening doors for others who are still waiting to hear. If your spirit is moved in this moment, do not hold back what has been placed in your hands. Sow into this mission as a seed of light, because every offering becomes a river that carries this message to souls who are still searching. God is saying to you right now, as you give, I will multiply what flows through you. And if you feel the call rising within you, say it boldly: I am part of this work. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code is right before you. This is not just support, it is alignment. Step into it now, and let your obedience become someone else's answered prayer. There is a reason this moment feels so pressing, and it is not by chance. What stands before you right now is not just a suggestion to pray. It is a divine window, a sacred opening that has been aligned specifically for this day, this hour, this very breath you are taking. And the truth you must understand is this: not every window remains open indefinitely. Many people believe they can delay spiritual action without consequence. They tell themselves, I will pray later, I will deal with it tomorrow, I will face it when I feel ready. But what they don't see is that spiritual timing does not always wait for human comfort. There are appointed moments when heaven draws near in a unique way, when grace is extended for a specific purpose. And when those moments pass without response, the opportunity doesn't disappear forever, but it does shift. And sometimes, it becomes harder to access what was once freely available. This is why tonight matters. There is something about the closing of this day that carries weight for you. It is not just the end of hours, it is the completion of a cycle. And within this cycle, something has been building, something hath been waiting for your acknowledgement. If you delay it, you are not just postponing a simple prayer, you are interrupting a flow that has already begun moving in your favor. Think about it carefully. How many times have you felt something deeply, knew you needed to act on it, but chose to wait only to find that the clarity faded, the urgency disappeared, and the moment never quite felt the same again? That is not because the need was gone. It is because the timing had shifted. Right now, you are in a moment where clarity is available to you. The awareness you feel is not accidental. It is being given to you so that you can respond while your heart is open, while your spirit is alert, while the connection is strong. Tomorrow may bring distractions. Tomorrow may bring noise. Tomorrow may pull your attention in 100 different directions. But right now you are still, you are aware, and you are being invited. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian over moments like this, not to pressure you, but to protect the opportunity that is before you. There is a covering around this moment, a sense of stillness that allows truth to come forward without interference. But even with that protection, one thing remains in your control: your choice to act. And here is something many people do not realize. Delayed obedience often feels easier in the moment, but heavier in the long run. When you ignore what your spirit is urging you to do, it does not disappear. It lingers. It settles deeper within you, sometimes turning into confusion, sometimes into restlessness, sometimes into a quiet frustration that you cannot fully explain. That is the weight of something unfinished. But you don't have to carry that weight. You have been given a chance, right now, to release it. To take that one thing, that unresolved thought, that lingering feeling, that quiet burden, and bring it into prayer before this day closes. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels more convenient. But now, while the moment is still alive. There is power in responding immediately. There is breakthrough in obedience that does not hesitate. And there is peace waiting on the other side of a prayer that is spoken at the right time. Do not let this day end with silence where there should have been surrender. Because what you are being invited into right now is not just a prayer. It is a turning point. There is something within you that has been quietly asking for your attention, and now it is time to face it fully. This is the moment where everything begins to come into focus, not in a loud or overwhelming way, but in a clear and undeniable knowing. You may have tried to push it aside, to label it as unimportant, or to convince yourself that it could wait. But deep down, you already know what it is. The one thing you need to pray about before this day ends is not hidden from you. It is familiar. It has been sitting in your thoughts, returning at unexpected times, showing up in subtle ways throughout your day. It may be a decision you have been avoiding, a fear you have not spoken out loud, a situation involving someone close to you, or even a truth about yourself that you have not fully accepted. Whatever it is, it carries weight, and that weight is what makes it so important. Sometimes, the hardest things to bring into prayer are not the biggest problems, but the most personal ones. The things that touch your heart deeply, the things that expose vulnerability, the things that require honesty beyond what you are used to expressing. You may have prayed many prayers before, but this one feels different because it requires you to be completely real, without hiding, without filtering, without holding anything back. And that is exactly why it matters. Because God is not waiting for perfect words. God is waiting for truth. The kind of truth that comes from your core. The kind that you cannot fake. The kind that may even make you uncomfortable to admit. That is the place where real connection happens. That is where transformation begins. You might feel resistance rising within you even now. A voice that says, "It's not that serious, it can wait, I don't need to deal with this right now." But recognize that voice for what it is. It is the part of you that fears change, that fears exposure, that fears stepping into something unknown. And while that fear may feel convincing, it is not leading you toward peace. It is keeping you in delay. What your spirit is calling you toward is freedom. And freedom often begins with a single, honest prayer. Archangel Michael stands with you in this moment, not as a distant figure, but as a presence of strength and reassurance. You are not being asked to face this alone. There is protection around your vulnerability, a sense of safety that allows you to open up without fear of judgment. This is a space where you can finally release what you have been holding. Think about what have been weighing on you, not just today, but perhaps for longer than you want to admit. What has been sitting in the background of your mind, quietly asking for resolution? What have you been carrying that no one else fully understands? That is where your prayer must go. And here is something powerful to remember. When you bring something into prayer, you are not just talking about it, you are transferring it. You are taking something that has been sitting within your limited understanding and placing it into the hands of a power that is far greater than you. You are shifting the burden from your shoulders to a place where it can actually be handled. This is why the prayer cannot be general. It cannot be vague. It must be specific. It must be directed toward that one thing your spirit keeps returning to, because that is the very area where change is waiting to begin. Do not overcomplicate it. Do not wait until you feel completely ready. Readiness is not what unlocks this moment. Willingness is. And right now, you are being invited to be willing, because that one thing you have been carrying was never meant to stay with you this long. It is time to release it. There is a quiet exhaustion that comes from carrying something for too long, and you may not have even realized how heavy it has become. At first, it felt manageable. You told yourself you could handle it, that you just needed time, that eventually it would resolve on its own. But instead of becoming lighter, it settled deeper within you. It became part of your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. And now, whether you admit it or not, you feel it. This is the weight you were never meant to carry alone. It does not matter how strong you are, how independent you have been, or how used you are to figuring things out on your own. There are certain burdens that were never designed to stay in human hands. They require surrender, not because you are weak, but because they are too complex, too layered, too spiritually connected to be resolved by effort alone. Think about how this weight has been affecting you. It may not always show itself directly, but it reveals itself in subtle ways. In the moments when your mind feels restless even when everything around you is quiet. In the way certain thoughts keep repeating, as if they are searching for an answer you cannot seem to find. In the emotional tension that rises without warning, leaving you feeling drained or uncertain. These are not random reactions. They are signals that something within you is asking to be released. And yet, you have held on. Not because you want to suffer, but because letting go can feel uncertain. When something has been with you for so long, even if it is heavy, it becomes familiar. You know how to carry it, even if it is difficult. But releasing it means stepping into something unknown. It means trusting that once you let it go, it will be handled in a way you cannot control. That is where faith begins. Because prayer is not just about speaking words, it is about transferring ownership. It is about taking what you have been holding and placing it into hands that are capable of doing what you cannot. It is about trusting that what you release will not be lost, but transformed. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder of that strength and protection. In moments of surrender, there is often a vulnerability that makes you feel exposed. But you are not exposed in a negative way. You are covered. There is a divine protection around you that allows you to open your heart without fear. You are not stepping into emptiness. You are stepping into guidance. What you are being asked to do is simple but not always easy. To take that one thing, the thing that has been weighing on you, and bring it into prayer with complete honesty. Not holding back, not minimizing it, not trying to make it sound better than it is. Just speaking it as it truly exists within you. Because the moment you do that, something shifts. The weight does not have to disappear instantly for the shift to happen. Sometimes, the first change is internal. a sense of relief, a quiet release, a feeling that you are no longer holding everything by yourself. And from that place, transformation begins to unfold in ways you may not expect. Many people carry burdens far longer than they need to, simply because they never fully release them. They pray around the issue, but not into it. They speak generally, but not specifically. And because of that, the weight remains. But you are being given a different opportunity. An opportunity to stop carrying what was never yours to hold alone. You do not have to solve everything tonight. You do not have to understand every outcome. You are only being asked to do one thing, to release it through prayer before this day ends. And in doing so, you are not losing control. You are finally placing it where it belongs. Because that weight you feel was never meant to stay with you. It was always meant to be surrendered. There is a moment that comes right after you finally speak what you have been holding inside, and it does not always look the way you expect, but it changes everything. It is not always loud. It is not always dramatic, but it is real. And once it happens, you will know that something has shifted within you. When you bring that one thing into prayer, honestly, openly, without holding back, you are doing more than just expressing your thoughts. You are opening a door that has been waiting for your voice. You are allowing something that was closed, hidden, or delayed to finally move forward. And even if nothing around you changes immediately, something within you begins to realign. At first, it may feel like a quiet release, a subtle easing of tension. The constant pressure that once sat heavily on your mind begins to loosen its grip. You may not even notice it all at once, but there will be a difference. The same thought that once felt overwhelming will start to feel lighter. The same situation that once felt confusing will begin to make more sense. That is not coincidence. That is the beginning of clarity. Because when you pray about something truthfully, you are no longer facing it alone. You are no longer trying to solve it from a place of limitation. You are inviting divine perspective into something that once felt restricted to your own understanding. And that changes how you see it, how you feel about it, and ultimately, how it unfolds. There is also a peace that begins to settle in, a peace that does not depend on immediate answers. This is important to understand, because many people expect instant results, instant solutions, instant changes. But the true power of prayer is not just in what happens around you, it is in what happens within you first. That inner peace becomes a foundation, something steady that holds you even while external things are still shifting. And then, something else begins to happen. You start to feel guided, not forced, not pushed, but gently led. You may notice that your thoughts become clearer, your decisions feel more aligned, your reactions become calmer. Things that once confused you may begin to reveal themselves naturally. Opportunities may appear. Conversations may unfold differently. It is as if a path that once felt blocked begins to open, step by step. This is what happens when you release control. Because before, you were holding everything tightly, trying to manage it, trying to understand it, trying to carry it. But now, you have allowed something greater to take over. And when that happens, you are no longer moving alone. You are being guided in ways you could not have created on your own. Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more noticeable in these moments. Not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that reassures you. There is a sense of protection around your steps, a quiet confidence that you are not walking into uncertainty without support. You may not see every detail ahead, but you begin to trust the direction you are being led. And here is something that may surprise you. What you feared facing may no longer feel as heavy once you bring it into prayer. The situation itself may not disappear instantly, but your relationship to it changes. You are no longer trapped inside it. You are no longer defined by it. You are standing outside of it, with clarity, with strength, with a sense of peace that was not there before. This is why this moment matters so much. Because the act of praying about that one thing is not small, is not routine, is a turning point, is the beginning of a shift that will continue to unfold beyond what you can see right now. And all of it begins with a single, honest step, a step you are still being invited to take before this day ends. Because once you do, nothing will feel exactly the same again. There is a sacred stillness that comes as the day begins to close, a quiet transition between what has been and what is about to begin again. It is in this space, this often overlooked moment, that something powerful takes place. The noise of the day fades, distractions loosen their grip, and your spirit becomes more open, more aware, more receptive. This is not accidental. This is intentional. Because there is a reason why this moment, before the day ends, carries such spiritual weight. Heaven listens at all times, but there are moments when your alignment with that listening becomes stronger. Not because heaven changes, but because you do. As the day settles, your heart begins to reflect. Your mind replays moments, conversations, decisions, and emotions. And in that reflection, truth rises more clearly. The barriers that once kept you distracted begin to fall away, leaving you with a clearer connection to what truly matters. This is why the invitation to pray before this day ends is so significant. It is not just about timing, it is about alignment. During the day, it is easy to avoid what needs attention. You stay busy, you move quickly, you fill your time with responsibilities. But as the day closes, there is less space to hide. The truth you have been avoiding becomes more visible. The feeling you pushed aside returns with clarity. And that one thing, the one you have been called to pray about, becomes undeniable. This is the moment where your prayer carries a different kind of depth. It is no longer rushed. It is no longer distracted. It is intentional. Archangel Michael stands close in moments like this, not as a distant observer, but as a guardian of your stillness. There is a protection around this time, a quiet covering that allows you to be fully present without interference. You are being given a space where your voice can rise clearly, where your words are not lost in noise, where your heart can speak without hesitation. And here is something that many people never realize. What you release in this moment does not stay in this moment. It carries forward. When you pray before the day ends, you are not just addressing what has already happened. You are setting the tone for what is about to come. You are closing one chapter with intention so that the next can open with clarity. You are not carrying unfinished weight into tomorrow. You are leaving it behind where it can be transformed. This is why it matters so much to act now. Because if you let this moment pass, you risk carrying the same burden into the next day. And once it becomes part of tomorrow, it blends into a new cycle of distraction, making it easier to delay again. But right now, you are standing at a point where you can break that cycle completely. There is a power in closing the day with surrender. A power in speaking what needs to be spoken before silence takes over. A power in choosing alignment over avoidance. You do not need a perfect environment. You do not need the right words prepared in advance. You only need willingness. The willingness to pause, to be still, and to bring that one thing into prayer with honesty. Because this moment, this exact moment, is closer to heaven than you realize. Not because of where you are physically, but because of where you are spiritually. Open. aware, ready. And as you step into that prayer, you are not just being heard, you are being met. Type "I pray" before this DAY ends in the comments if you are stepping into this moment. Blessing code 518 has now been released over your life. And as you stand in this sacred closing of the day, understand this: every act of obedience becomes a seed planted in divine soil. If your heart is stirred to help carry this message to others who are still searching in their silence, do not ignore that prompting. God is speaking directly to you. As you sow into what feeds souls, I will cause abundance to flow back into your life. Say it within yourself now: I am a vessel for this light. The PayPal link in the description and the QR code before you are not just options. They are doorways to participate in something greater. Step forward in faith and let your giving become a living prayer that reaches beyond what your voice alone can touch. There is a pattern that has been quietly shaping parts of your life, and you may not have fully recognized it until now. It does not always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes it hides in repeated thoughts, familiar emotions, or situations that seem to return just when you think you have moved past them. You may have even asked yourself, why does this keep happening? Or why do I feel like I am facing the same thing again? That is not coincidence. That is a cycle. And cycles continue for one reason: they have not been fully broken. What you are being invited into right now is not just a moment of prayer, but a moment of interruption. A moment where something that has been repeating can finally come to an end. Because the truth is, cycles are not always broken by time. They are broken by awareness, by decision, and by action. And tonight, all three are aligning for you. Think about that one thing you have been called to pray about. It is not just important because of what it is important because of what it represents. It is connected to something deeper, something that has likely shown up in different forms before. Maybe not exactly the same, but similar enough that it feels familiar. That familiarity is the sign of a pattern that has not yet been resolved. Many people try to escape cycles by changing external circumstances. They change environments, relationships, routines, hoping that something outside of them will bring a different result. But what they often discover is that the same feelings, the same challenges, the same questions eventually return. Not because they are meant to suffer, but because something internal still needs to be addressed. This is where your prayer becomes powerful. Because when you bring that one thing into prayer with full awareness, you are not just addressing the surface. You are going deeper. You are reaching the root. And when the root is addressed, the cycle loses its power to repeat. But this requires honesty. It requires you to look at what has been happening without denial, without excuses, without minimizing it. Not in a way that brings guilt, but in a way that brings clarity. Because clarity is what allows change to happen. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is one of strength and protection. Breaking cycles can feel uncomfortable because it requires stepping out of what is familiar. Even if the cycle has been difficult, it has also been known. And leaving what is known, even when it is not good for you, can feel uncertain. But you are not stepping into that uncertainty alone. There is guidance surrounding you, helping you move forward with confidence. This is your moment to choose differently. Not just in thought, but in action. To take what has been repeating and bring it into prayer with the intention of release. To say, with clarity and conviction, that you are no longer willing to carry this pattern forward. To allow yourself to step out of what has been and into what can be. Because here is the truth. Cycles do not break on their own. They break when you decide that enough is enough. And the decision is not just made in your mind. It is made in your spirit. It is made when you take that one thing and bring it fully before God, without holding back, without hesitation. That is where the shift begins. That is where repetition ends and transformation starts. And once that shift happens, you begin to move differently. You begin to respond differently. The same situations no longer have the same hold on you. The same thoughts no longer control your direction. You are no longer walking in circles, you are moving forward. This is why this moment matters so deeply. Because it is not just about today. It is about everything that comes after. And right now, you are standing at the point where the cycle can finally be broken. All it takes is your willingness to act. There is something powerful that happens the moment you choose to surrender that one thing in prayer. You are not just releasing it, you are placing it under protection. And this is where many people begin to feel a shift they cannot fully explain. It is not always visible, but it is unmistakable. A sense that something is now being handled, guarded, and watched over in a way that goes beyond your own ability. This is where the presence of Archangel Michael becomes deeply significant. Not as a distant symbol, but as a living force of protection and strength surrounding your situation. When you bring your burden into prayer, you are not sending it into emptiness. You are placing it into a divine covering, where it is shielded from what once tried to disturb, confuse, or weaken you. Think about what you were carrying before this moment. The uncertainty, the questions, the emotional weight. It may have felt exposed, vulnerable, even overwhelming at times. But once you release it in prayer, something changes. It is no longer unguarded. It is no longer left open to the same pressure. It is now under a shield. And that shield is not passive. It is active. It deflects what does not belong. It blocks what tries to return. It holds steady even when your emotions fluctuate. This is the kind of protection that does not depend on how you feel from moment to moment. It remains even when you are unsure, even when you are still processing what you have released. There is a reason why you are being guided to pray before this day ends. Because what you place under protection tonight does not carry the same vulnerability into tomorrow. Instead of waking up to the same unresolved weight, you wake up to something that has already been covered, already been guarded, already been placed into a higher order. Archangel Michael's shield is not just about defense, it is about restoration. Because once something is protected, it has space to be restored without interference. It is no longer being pulled in different directions. It is no longer exposed to the same confusion. It can begin to settle, to realign, to become what it was meant to be. And this applies directly to that one thing you have been called to pray about. Whether it is a situation, a relationship, a decision, or something within yourself, once you release it, it is no longer in the same condition it was before. It is not just out of your hands. It is in a place where it can be handled with precision, with clarity, with purpose. You may not see immediate changes on the outside, and that is okay. Protection often works quietly. It does not always announce itself. But you will begin to notice the difference in how you feel, in how you respond, in how you carry yourself moving forward. There will be a steadiness that was not there before. A sense that even if everything is not fully resolved yet, it is no longer out of control. This is what happens when something is covered. You are no longer trying to manage every detail. You are no longer reacting to every thought or emotion that arises. You are standing in a place of trust, knowing that what you have released is being held in a way you could never hold it on your own. And here is something important to remember. Once you place something under this kind of protection, you do not need to keep taking it back. Many people pray, release something, and then pick it up again through worry, overthinking, or doubt. But that only pulls them back into the same cycle. What you are being invited into is different. A complete release. A full trust. A willingness to leave it where it now belongs. Because the moment you truly let it go, you make space for something new to take its place. Peace. Clarity. Direction. And all of it begins with that one act of surrender before this day ends. Because once it is placed under the shield, it will never be as exposed as it once was. There comes a moment in every journey where everything begins to shift, not because of a dramatic external event, but because of a quiet internal decision. That moment is closer than you think. In fact, it is already unfolding within you right now. You may not see all the evidence yet, but something has already begun to change. This is what a turning point feels like. It does not always arrive with clear signs or immediate confirmation. Sometimes, it begins with a simple awareness, a realization that something can no longer remain the same. And once that awareness settles in, you cannot go back to how things were before. Even if everything around you looks the same, you know within yourself that a shift has taken place. Think about where you were before this moment. The weight you were carrying, the uncertainty you were facing, the cycle that seemed to repeat itself. And now, consider what has happened within you. You have been brought to a place of clarity, a place where you recognize what needs to be released, what needs to be spoken, what needs to be surrendered. That recognition alone is powerful. Because many people remain stuck not because they lack strength, but because they lack clarity. They continue in cycles without fully understanding what is holding them there. But you have been given something different. You have been shown the one thing that needs your attention. You have been guided to this moment where action becomes possible. This is where everything begins to turn. Not because everything is suddenly perfect, but because you are no longer standing in the same place mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. You are moving from hesitation into readiness, from avoidance into awareness, from carrying everything alone into a willingness to release it. And that shift changes what happens next. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is one of encouragement and strength. You are not being pushed forward. You are being supported as you step forward. There is a steady guidance surrounding you, helping you move with confidence even if you cannot see every detail ahead. This is important, because turning points often require trust. You may not know exactly how everything will unfold once you pray about that one thing. You may not have all the answers or a clear picture of what comes next. But you do not need to. Because a turning point is not about knowing everything. It is about choosing to move in the right direction. And that direction has already been shown to you. It is in the call to pray before this day ends. It is in the awareness of what you have been carrying. It is in the invitation to release it fully. This is your step forward. And once you take it, something begins to open. You may notice it gradually. A sense of peace that feels more stable. Thoughts that feel less scattered. Decisions that feel more aligned. These are not random changes. They are signs that you have crossed into something new. A new way of moving. A new way of responding. A new way of being. And from this point, things will not unfold the same way they did before. The patterns that once repeated will begin to lose their hold. The weight that once felt constant will no longer define your experience. You are stepping into a place where change is not just possible, it is already in motion. This is why this moment matters so much. Because turning points are not always obvious when they happen. They often feel quiet, simple, even ordinary. But their impact is anything but small. They mark the beginning of something new. Something that continues to unfold long after the moment itself has passed. And right now, you are standing in one. All that remains is for you to complete it, to take that one thing and bring it fully into prayer before this day ends. Because once you do, you will not be standing in the same place anymore. You will have moved forward, and everything that comes after will begin from that new place. Now everything comes down to this moment, the moment where you choose to respond. Not with hesitation, not with doubt, but with a quiet certainty that what you are about to do matters more than you fully understand right now. Take a deep breath and feel the stillness around you. This is where the noise fades. This is where the weight you have been carrying no longer needs to stay with you. This is where everything you have been holding inside finds its release, not through force, not through struggle, but through a simple, honest connection with God. You do not need to complicate this. You do not need perfect words or a perfect setting. You only need to be real. To take that one thing, the one that has followed you through this entire day, the one that has quietly asked for your attention, and finally bring it into prayer. Speak it. Not the version you think sounds right, but the truth as it is within you. Whether it comes out clearly or not, whether it feels emotional or uncertain, let it be real. Because in that honesty, something powerful happens. The moment you release it, you will feel it. Maybe not as a dramatic shift, but as a gentle peace beginning to settle over you. A quiet sense that you are no longer carrying this alone. That what once felt heavy is now resting in a place where it can be handled with care, with wisdom, with divine understanding. This is peace. Not the kind that depends on everything being solved instantly, but the kind that assures you that everything is now in motion. That what needed to be done has been done. That what needed to be spoken has been spoken. And in that peace, there is rest. Tonight, you are not closing this day with unanswered tension. You are closing it with surrender, with trust, with the quiet confidence that you responded when it mattered most. Archangel Michael's presence remains with you, not as something distant, but as a steady covering. There is protection over what you have released. There is guidance over what comes next. You are not stepping into tomorrow the same way you entered today. You are stepping into it lighter, clearer, stronger. And even if you do not see immediate results, do not question what has taken place. Some of the most powerful changes begin in silence, unfolding step by step, revealing themselves at the right time. Trust that. Trust what you felt. Trust what you did. Because you listened. You did not ignore the call. You did not delay the moment. You responded. And that response has already set something into motion that will continue beyond what you can see right now. So rest in that peace. Let go of any remaining tension. You have done what needed to be done before this day ends. And that is enough. Type "IT is done" in the comments if you have released it in prayer. Blessing code 911 has now been sealed over your life. And as you rest in this peace, hear this clearly. What you just experienced is not only for you. There are souls still carrying what you have just released, waiting for a message like this to reach them in their moment of need. God is speaking through your heart right now. As you pour into what lifts others, I will cause your life to overflow. If you feel this stirring within you, say it boldly. I will help this message reach the lost. The PayPal link in the description and the QR code before you are not just tools. They are seeds of light, ready to be sown into fertile ground. This is your moment to act. Not later, not someday. Now. Step forward and give as you are led, and watch how heaven responds to your obedience with abundance, favor, and divine increase.